Now, Gabon's special economic zone plays host to over 45 companies and is projected to have about 180 factories by the year 2021. CNBC Africa's Onyi Sunday caught up with Liban Solman, chairman of Gabon's Investment Promotion Agency, and discussed how the Central African country is planning to attract more investors.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Liban, here at this very, what I call it, eventful day, the inauguration of the new Ovendo International Port. I'm going to start by asking, what do you make of this achievement?
I believe that it is a very important moment for the Gabonese economy and the presidential vision. As you know, Gabon is a country that has been historically known to export raw products, whether it be timber, oil, manganese, or all the mining derivatives that you can find. And today, this port is a moment of transition in the Gabonese economy because it's a port that's designed not only to lower the cost of importation for a country that imports literally all of its consumables or goods, but morely a port for exportation. And this day is an incredible day historically also, because as you know, in Africa, in the last 10 years, there's been about 40 new port projects that have been announced. And you have 5 projects that have been delivered, and 2 of those 5 are in Gabon, because this is not only a container port, it's also a multi-purpose port, and you also have a mineral port that now will double our capacity of exporting products such as manganese. So it's a very important and eventful moment. It's a record that shows that Africa can win. It's an all-inclusive African project, even though you can consider that Olam is a company that has been on the continent for more than 100 years. I mean, the predecessor of Olam, and completely financed. GSES is a public-private partnership with African Finance Corporation, Olam, and the Republic of Gabon. So from our perspective as the government, on the presidential vision and based on the Gabon 2025 plan, this is a pillar moment.
Now, of course, I did see a recording of the president some over like 20 years ago.
Yes.
Talking about this.
30,
talking about this particular project. Talk us through how committed the government was to actualizing this particular project. I mean, it's a partnership between the AFC, Olam, and the Republic of Gabon. Talk us through the government's commitment on this project.
Well, the government obviously has a major commitment because behind this port is a complete industrialization vision. So as you know, the president has made a speech in 2010 where he stated that Gabon, in its vision, would like to transform by 2025 at least 30% of its natural resources in Gabon. And beyond that, you have renewable natural resources and non-renewable natural resources. And today we have a huge potential in terms of agro-industry with Olam. And you have the Special Economic Zone, which is probably the most successful Special Economic Zone in this sub-region, Central Africa, but also potentially in Sub-Saharan Africa. You have more than $2 billion of foreign direct investment, the first transformation of our wood. We're actually going to 3rd generation transformation of wood products in this Special Economic Zone. So it's a complete vision that's integrated, where the port is only the exit actually, and the capacity to competitively export made in Gabon products. And it goes also beyond Gabon. As you know, we're in a regional economic community where we have free trade that is about to be acted. So it's positioning Gabon from the natural resource, oil producing country base to a diversified multi-sectorial economy.
Talking about diversity here, talk me through the plans to ensure that agriculture contributes more to your country's GDP. At the moment, it is heavily reliant on the proceeds from oil.
Absolutely. And this is the whole concept of and the importance of this event today. Today, you have about 54 greenfield projects that have been announced in agriculture or major agro-industrial projects on the continent. And in Gabon, you have about 50% of the planted surfaces in the last 10 years on the continent. So we're talking about major transformation in the economic vision of the country or in the economic potential. So with these types of projects, whether you have agro-industry and natural production of local consumed products, whether it be plantain or a substance that you call manioc in Gabon, through a outgrow program that's linked to the agro-industrial project, we have a clear vision on agriculture that will be the basis of our first diversification. The second level is the transformation of mining. And as you know, behind this project, you have the port, you have the Special Economic Zone that's about 27 kilometers further from the port, And through the special economic zone and in the port, you have the railway that crosses the country that's going through the special economic zone and straight to the port. So the railway comes into the port, as you've seen, and it's been mentioned in the presentation. This shows you that the whole concepts of the country's development is actually miniaturized through this event today. We believe that we expect by 2025 to have at least double-digit growth constantly over the next 4 years from non-oil based GDP.
Tell me more about this Vision 2025.
Vision 2025 is the strategic plan by which the president was elected and that he actually announced in his campaign in 2009. And it is basically the narrative that we've been talking about from the beginning of this conversation, the diversification of the Gabonese economy for a inclusive growth, where we create employment, because there's no, people talk about fighting against poverty, but you cannot fight against poverty if you don't have an economy that creates jobs for the youth.
Is this all part of the whole Gabon Emergent that was actually launched in 2009?
Yes, this is Gabon Emergent. We call it Plan Stratégique Gabon Emergent. The Vision 2025,
Interesting. Now, just let us talk more about, Gabon's role in regional integration, and of course, when it comes to trade within the African continent. Talk us through the role. What are the plans for that?
Naturally, and in absolute honesty, I'm less of a politician and more of a technician. But yesterday at the Ministry Council, at the dawn of this event, there's a news that was announced that wasn't highly publicized or related. Gabon has announced no more visas for all the constituents of the economic region of CEMAC, which is a decision that was taken by the heads of states of our region in 2015 and reinforced in 2016. So Gabon is now acting this free trade model. And this is why we have to reach a certain level of competitivity, because Gabon has 1.8 million people compared to a Cameroon that's approximately at 20 million, or next door Nigeria, that is, the market by excellence. So if we don't think of a sustainable model for development, where we have a sustainable competitive advantage, and in key sectors such as in agriculture, this is a country with 2 million hectares of arable lands with high water and density, a country that is open to the sea. The port is right here, so that has the capacity to export. So the whole vision of Gabon is to develop its tourism, agricultural sector, its new technologies and information. We're a leader in the digital economy, at least on the infrastructure level. Gabon is one of the most connected countries probably in the sub-region in terms of internet penetration and telecom penetration. And obviously looking into positioning ourselves as a central player in this transformation of the Gulf of Guinea economy.
Talking about positioning yourself, how are you positioning your youth? I mean, they make up about what? Over 75% of your population. Talk me through how well prepared in terms of skill for this economy of the future.
Okay, so this is a sector where Gabon has had huge delay. A very ancient education system that is structured to develop elites. So, as Africans, you have to have a doctorate degree, you have to have a bachelor's. If you don't have a bachelor, the family doesn't celebrate. There's this whole vision of looking for people that have very high educations. And this is probably one of the causes of what happened in Northern Africa with the Arab Spring, where a lot of youth that was highly educated is unemployed. If you don't have industrialization, you don't have the capacity to create jobs, because it's a question of opportunities. And if you don't have opportunities to create jobs, you cannot have people to be able to obtain these jobs. And in order for these people to obtain these jobs, you need to have a real strategy where you link private sector and education to create specific vocational and professional training to be able to occupy positions in these jobs and to maintain the competitivity of the country. Gabon, in the Special Economic Zone, has a partnership with the World Bank and also with China Exim Bank and a Chinese state company called AVIC to build one of the biggest professional training centers in the sub-region. We're talking about a 10,000 student training center in the industrial zone, so that you can have a clear link between private sector and the education sector. And we believe that through agriculture, through the transformation of our economy, through tourism, through creating the transformation of mines so that we can go into developing pellets, or what we have done today with our manganese mines in the Otogwe region, where we are actually doing silico manganese. So we went from exporting raw manganese to transforming it in country, and it's about 2,000 jobs created. And we believe that if we continue pushing in this model, we will create jobs, and we have to let the private sector train its own workforce, and this will solve the aspirations of our youth. Also, we believe strongly in entrepreneurship, empowerment of your people, giving them positive discrimination. I don't know if that's the accurate word in English, but where you give them an advantage like they do in the Middle East countries. And there are laws, for example, in our public markets regulation, where government contracting regulation, where you give advantages to your populations and your businessmen. So I think that this is why this sport at this specific moment was the key, because one of the major barriers to entry in terms of investors that are looking for return on investment was the logistical costs in Gabon. And we believe that through this project, bringing down the logistical costs, making sure that the country is competitive on all its different exports, will be the key to creating the jobs for our youth.
Now, is that what the promotion agency has managed to achieve over the years? I mean, you head that particular agency. What impact has it made in terms of attracting investments and, keeping investments as well over time?
Well, we are Africans, so I will say it very simply. We're standing on the port, you and I, right now. This is not a government financed port. This is a foreign direct investment. So that means that the attractivity of the country has been displayed and is concretely here. And investors will not be able to take the sport back from Gabon. We believe that, you have a special economic zone where you have $2 billion of investment. I mean, we doubled in the last 8 years. Gabon has doubled the whole investment that it had in the last 40 years on non-oil, on the non-oil sector. We have a fundamental belief, and it's in a strategic plan, that non-renewable natural resources are not really something that you can promote in terms of foreign direct investments. It's a partnership. We believe that these are the types of investments that we're looking for. We're talking about developing a new airport. This project is also quite advanced. Have you seen when you drove through the city that we have a new platform where we're developing a central district for tourism and commerce that's being developed? Now the key challenges that we will have, port and and sea connectivity has now been reinforced. We need to reinforce our aerial connectivity to make Gabon more attractive. As you know, we also have a competitive advantage when it comes to tourism. We have 13 national parks. They call it the last Eden, very beautiful country. The slogan is designed by nature. And I encourage you to visit our national parks.
That was Liban Soman, chairman of the Gabon Investment Promotion Agency.